shut up, you listen to my monkey mouth. There's a companion when you got pun on the canoa route. Hopped in a portal and got in a fight, Elias knocked him out. Bow, Naruto fighting style. Bow, UFC he tapped out. Bow, we win, we get crowned. Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the Ones Who Woke Up podcast. This is Joshua, as always, and today I've got with me
Josh Castro.
And so, this is probably going to be everyone who's watching's first exposure to you, and so just give everybody a quick rundown on, like, who you are, what you have going on, where they can find you online, and if they want to support you, how they can do that.
Hell yeah. My name is Josh Castro. I am a comedian, a local comedian, region comedian. I travel all throughout Texas, and I put on shows here in Austin, Texas, here, an all-Latino showcase called Border Laughs, and I've been doing that for a couple years now. You can find me at www.borderlaughs.com. You can also find me at justjoshincomedy, all one word, .com. And you can also find me on all social media at justjoshincomedy there. And also Border Laughs also as well. You can find me on Instagram. That's me. So either one, that's where you find me.
Beautiful, man. Well, you know, all the likes and follows and shares wind up mattering, right? The more of them you have, the easier it is for the algorithm to pick you up and stuff. So
for sure.
You know, every little like and impression counts. So you guys give them a follow and show some support digitally, and that'll help them a lot more than you guys probably realize.
Check me out.
Yeah. So where you're operating out of Austin? Are you from Austin originally?
I'm not originally from Austin. I am originally from a border town called El Paso, Texas.
Oh, okay.
And so I traveled, left out there like about 2000, went to San Antonio, and lived there for a couple years, and then moved up here to Austin.
And so what year did you get to Austin roundabout?
I want to say, well, I've been in Austin like probably since 94. I've been in and out since I was a little kid, so I don't necessarily consider myself an Austinite, but I empathize a lot with him.
You've got enough like cred built up. You could claim it if you probably wanted to.
And
I was born in Brackenridge Hospital, and if you've been in and out since '94, I wouldn't give you any grief if you were like, "Fuck it, I'm an Austinite by now."
And it lights up the eyes of the old Austinites when I tell them that. I was like, "Hey guys, do you remember Lollapalooza '94?" They're like, "Oh my God, you were here for that?" Yes.
Yeah. I'm a unicorn being born here and being around here. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like almost nobody that I run into these days is from Austin. I don't think I've had a single person on the podcast who was from Austin originally and who's still here.
Yeah.
Like 20 of them. And I mean, if you count what we've done with Mikey, we're up to like 40. So it's like a rare breed, right?
Definitely.
From Austin, still in Austin.
Definitely is one of those rare breeds, but they're out there, still surviving. And
I'm out here unicorning it up. You managed to catch me this evening too. We're doing a fucking conversation on my podcast. So I love that you're doing an all Latino lineup. I think that's really dope that you're getting to like put on for your community.
Hell yeah, man! And it's something that I kind of came up with. Well, it's something that I noticed that was happening. I just thought there was a lot of funny Latinos in my network that were really funny, but didn't get that opportunity to shine. Especially if they came to Austin, because I worked with a lot of regional comedians that performed in San Antonio, all the way down to Laredo, Del Rio, and so I just saw a lot of great potential there, and I was like, wow, why don't I showcase them here in the capital of Texas? So I came up with a show called Border Laughs, and it's one of those shows that I try to feature mostly Latinos and blacks, and just kind of do the opposite and have it more of a fun party situation too. I brought the concept up more of everybody. It's all Latino. It's Spanish, and it's not really all that. It's more like.
No, y'all aren't selling tamales out front.
No, we're not doing any of that. And a lot of people, is it in Spanish? No.
It's not the comedy show flea market.
Exactly. It's a little bit more, you just got to come to the show.
Well, I understand, bro. Like, my business partner is a modern Hispanic, right? I joke that he's more Caucasian than I am. And so I understand that if it's a modern Spanish person, modern Hispanic person, it's not going to be about getting slapped with chanclaws anymore. That's 80s. That's 80s. Comedy,
Yeah, it's a little outdated.
Everybody's kind of modernized, and it's a little bit more
and
available to, or I guess relatable to everybody these days.
Definitely, and I do it at a Mexican restaurant down on South Austin off of 290, and they have a beautiful stage there, and they allowed me to do this show once a month and feature some of my favorite people I love to work with as far as comedians working, and that's people that have been working have been on Jimmy Kimmel and to America's Got Talent, so it's a lot of people that I've worked with that have grown as
They're
comedians.
Really talented folks, clearly.
Yeah. So try to showcase them every time they come down to Austin, and give them a platform. If they can't get into any clubs or the club's booked, you know what I mean. There's always that little extra platform, and.
Well, it's all about consistency over time,
Yeah.
in my opinion. And at this point, you've got a monthly thing going, right? So it's consistent, and the longer you do it, the better it's going to be. And so when you say it's once a month, do you have a set date, or is it like every second Tuesday? What's that look like?
Yeah, it's kind of hit and miss. It's kind of hard for me to do a consistent time of the day, time of the month. I try to aim at dates that they give me, basically.
So you're trying to basically just making sure that you're putting on at least one show once every 30 days.
More or less, yeah.
Cool, super cool. So you just keep up with your social medias, and they'll see what's up. You're posting about it, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. And I also, I also do other shows. And in Austin and Pflugerville.
When
So
you say other shows, you're putting on other shows?
yeah, I also produce other shows outside.
What else?
Well, I do. I was doing Leander Laughs. We kind of put a little show hold because of the weather. It's an outdoor venue. Most of my outdoor venues that I do, I kind of hold back during the winter months. So I kind of do them in seasons.
Sure.
So I do a show called Leander Laughs, which is up in Leander, and I also have one in Pflugerville that I'm kind of still working on. So kind of developing on a couple of them, and just trying to get a consistent good amount of shows throughout the week. So
Yeah, well, and you're getting spread across, right? There's Leander on the west side of town, Pflugerville on the east side of town.
Yeah.
One happening down south. And so it's a good spread, right? You get to experience the different types of demographics of people who live in those different areas of Austin. You can test out your comedy and see how it's going to be receptive by different demographics in the crowd. And
Most definitely.
It's really good data to be acquiring.
Most definitely, and it's great as a comedian because you want to try to hit every crowd. You want to try to different people that are might not have ever been to a comedy show, and you'd be surprised, and I have people come up to me and you're like, hey man, I haven't ever been to a comedy show, but you're one of the greatest I've ever seen. And I'm like, wow, that sounds great, because they've actually never been to a comedy show. I was like, but it feels good to get that compliment. I don't necessarily accept that comic.
I can say that it's more impactful when you're there.
Yeah,
for sure. And so if they've only ever experienced comedians X, Y, and Z on TV, and then they go and see you in public for the first time.
Yeah.
It's going to have so much more impactfulness, right? It's like the difference in watching somebody get punched in an MMA fight versus watching someone get punched in an MMA fight stage side.
Yeah, that's true. I'd never thought of it that way. That's a great perspective.
Yeah, well, I'm high. Shit comes from left field for me, bro.
It's all good.
Who fucking knows where it's going to come from, but on the subject of getting high, have you ever done any psychedelics or anything like that?
Yeah. I've done a couple.
Well, tell me about it. What's your favorite one that you've done?
Well, I'm kind of broke, so I haven't really been able to afford too much lately. Welcome
to 2020.
Yeah. I guess shrooms would be one of the most recent. I just don't like the side effects, I guess. And the side effects for me is sweating, and just the physical ingestion of fungi. And I guess
it doesn't taste good. It's a hard thing to get down.
Yeah. So it's got to be.
It kind of upsets your stomach a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. So I don't like that part. But I've had some mix with like chocolate or something like that, and
they have chocolate infused. They have mushroom infused chocolates available, especially in places like Oregon, where it's decriminalized and people are able to operate in a gray market and sell it that way. Yeah.
And I'm more of the medicinal side to it, because I like, I'm a firm believer that it's healing, and when it comes to like not just psychedelics, but I'm not talking about doing it on a constant basis, but I think with somebody who suffers from like depression or something like that, could be possibly helpful for them as far as healing and how they're dealing with that. And I think there's been some studies on psychedelics that have been out there that have been prone to be more therapeutic and stuff like that. So I'm very, very interested in that aspect of the psychedelic.
Well, there's been a bunch of stuff that's come out recently, especially since the academic institutions have been able to start actually researching this stuff more, now that guys like Rick Strassman, who did the DMT experiments back in the day at the University of New Mexico, there's been enough experience within the academic institutions that the federal government's now letting people study it more, right? They've proven that it can be studied in a safe way, and now they're, on top of studying it in a safe way, they're actually discovering all these dope-ass benefits, like MDMA helping with post-traumatic stress, LSD helping with addiction, using mushrooms for people who are in hospice. Wide variety of things that they're doing with them these days that are all incredibly beneficial.
For sure, man. Yeah, and that's the thing that I really like. A lot of people look down on when it comes to people using and things. Some people
can thank DARE for that. Right?
Yeah,
there
DARE.
was an entire organized misinformation campaign put on by the state, and so of course,
Reagan.
You're going to talk to some people who are completely unfamiliar and who only have knowledge that was given to them that's flat out misinformation. And so anytime that somebody looks down on me for hearing that I'm doing psychedelics, I usually just kind of am like, oh, you bless your little heart. How about I put 2 drops of LSD on your neck and see how you feel about this in 6 hours?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess coming from a border town too, where I come, it's very kind of like old school conservative.
I grew up in Granger, which is a town of 1,200 people.
Yeah.
So believe you me, I was on the outs for smoking weed. Oh God, you're crazy. You smoke weed. Whoa.
Yeah, I didn't start smoking. I didn't start doing any of that till I was like late 30s, and it's just
you were a late bloomer.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, man. I was
were you sipping the Dare Kool-Aid? Did you really believe what they were telling you in Dare? Or did you at least have one trill uncle who
no, man. I did the right thing. I thought I was doing the right thing. And when I say the right thing, I went to I had some issues that I felt that, I didn't know how to get help for, so they medicated me. And, I was on medication for quite a while, and turns out that, didn't really need it. And, after I started smoking, I just felt the difference, and granted, I probably still have undiagnosed ADD, but, hey, I cope with a lot of things that, I feel that I was suffering from before that I don't suffer from now.
Yeah.
And as a result, I was on some pharmaceuticals, and I just didn't like the feeling, and it didn't make me feel like a person.
Do you mind saying what you were on?
I don't remember it's
been a while.
Wellbutrin or some type of antidepressants that were just, to me, it just made me feel so stoic and like a person.
Yeah, you couldn't feel nothing.
Yeah. And that scared me,
it's not pleasant.
And I all I wanted to do was just be happy. So I guess, drugs to help me out. They made me happy.
So, antidepressants typically aren't the thing that are going to make you happy.
Yeah,
Antidepressants are the things that are going to deaden you from being so sad that you're going to hurt yourself.
You're right.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
guess,
So,
yeah, and I don't think I was at that point, but at the,
well, they love to pass out them drugs like candies. I went to the doctor for just a general checkup, and of course they ask you all the leading questions, right? You ever feel like you get a little too angry, or do you ever have any trouble sleeping? And they have all these like questions that don't seem like much, and you kind of answer them honestly. But by the end of it, they're like, well, all these little things that we asked you about, even though you're saying you're not depressed, could be subtle indicators that you're depressed. And so we think that you might be depressed. So how about you take these antidepressants? And how about you take these anti-anxiety medications?
Yeah.
And, I was literally telling them, I don't feel as though I personally need any of that. I don't think that I have a therapist. My therapist doesn't think I need that, but I came in for a general checkup, and you're trying to prescribe me something that my therapist doesn't feel like I need, And so, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
And he literally, I swear to God, was like, just give him a try. Just give him a try. It might do all kinds of wonders for you.
Yeah.
And it was, I swear to God, I experienced more peer pressure to take pharmaceutical medication than I've ever experienced to smoke weed.
Right.
Guys were always real chill. Feel like, you want to smoke a blunt? Nah.
Chill.
More for me.
Yeah.
And so it was wild.
And that was also too, growing up, that was also an issue too. It was always there. Growing up in a border town. Yeah. So it's like that, it's like, no, I don't want it. It's like once you have access to it, when it was weird because I went up to Colorado as we speak, and like I stopped smoking up there, and I guess because the fact that it was just readily available.
The secret ingredient is crime.
The secret ingredient for me was crime. No, I don't know. I can't call it. It was weird though. It was just a weird situation. I have a stand-up joke about it. I like the criminal aspect, I don't want to lose that, you know what I mean? I want to go behind a dark alley and I want to buy it from. I don't want to know if it's indica or sativa. I don't give a shit. Weed is just weed.
That's what the rush of buying it,
right? You know what I mean? Like so.
I don't get a rush in the Apple store of weed.
Yeah. So to me, I don't know. I trap houses? You mean, dispensaries? Is that what they call them? Trap houses? No, I'm just kidding. Anyways.
That's great. I
mean,
it is basically a trap house. I saw someone posted online. They were getting all these millions of dollars in funding to start their cannabis business, and someone commented, damn, my cousin's in jail doing 20 for the same thing.
Yeah, and pretty much. I like the hypocrisy on it. I guess that's what most of my comedy does, is kind of like poke the fun at looking in the middle and just kind of blasting it out as far as how stupid it looks from the outside, and making fun of those different angles,
Well, for me, the essence of comedy is irony.
Yeah.
Right. And so anytime that you can put an ironic twist on something that people feel like they kind of already know the outcome of, and you judo throw them with some irony,
yep,
you're going to catch a laugh every time. It's just that simple. And so
for sure, man,
I was always able to be really funny, like funny in conversation. I won most wittiest in my high school, which I told you I graduated from Granger, right? I think my graduating class had like 40 people in it. So it's nothing to really chirp about, but the bottom line is I've always been pretty funny in conversation, and the way I always did it is I just knew that if I could say something ironic, it would catch a laugh, even if I didn't think it was funny, or even if I didn't know how it would land. Anytime you can point out some bit of irony in what's happening in front of people are going to go, huh. It draws at least a huh out of people whenever they didn't catch the irony and it gets pointed out to them. For
sure, man. Those little huhs make a lot of difference after a while.
Well, exactly. You can lube up a room if you're a comedian with little huzz. And also, if you get the whole crowd doing it, it turns into a roar after a while.
For sure,
man. You can get your laughs per minute up with a bunch of little ticky-tacky ha-has here and there, and before long, they don't know where it's going. And bonk them over the head with something fun. For sure, man. Stand-up's always been fun. I love doing stand-up. I love comedy in general, I don't really watch a lot of comedy either, I just kind of coast and see some little clips here and there, but I don't really
watch too much.
So I know you say you don't watch much, but you definitely watch some. Who's your favorite right now?
Right now, man, there's so many great comedians.
I
to watch.
I know. And so maybe not the pressure of who's your absolute favorite, right? But when I say someone you really like right now, who's the first person that pops in your mind?
Bill.
Oh, Bill Burr's great.
Yeah, hands down. I mean, he's one of the greatest. And,
he's got that dry, punk ass old white man delivery, just fucking down, bro.
Yeah. I recently listened to his Philly rant.
I'm unfamiliar.
If you look up on YouTube, Bill Hicks does a 15-minute where he just shits on the whole town of Philadelphia.
Bill Hicks is amazing.
Not Bill Hicks. Bill Burr.
Shirt.
I'm sorry, Bill Burr.
I can confirm, guys. Alex Jones is not Bill Hicks. Don't ask me how I know.
And he just shits on the whole crowd, you know, and he went up on stage without that intention, and you can hear it and throughout the set. And he's just counting down. 15 minutes left. Oh, you degenerate fucks! And just crying, and the crowd is like booing him, but then he wins them right back. You know, it's like your whole town is, worshiping this fake boxer. Did you guys know? Like Stallone, like he just goes off.
So they started not liking his show, and then he just started going in on them.
Yeah,
and won them over.
And he won them over.
That's some locker room shit. Right
yeah,
there,
dude.
bro.
And
that's
I think there's also
that's goat shit, bro.
I think there's another interview a side interview. I think Bob Saget talks about that particular incident and how he was there in the background. I guess he was one of the comedians that witnessed that.
Yeah, he was part of the show.
So it's an interesting take, and I like those little aspects of comedy. And Bill Burr's one of the comics I love watching and just being entertained. Going back, and Bill Hicks is also one of my biggest inspirations for doing comedy. Excuse me. When I first got into comedy, he was one of the first ones that I listened to, and that was more because my brother was a big, huge Tool fan, and
you know the lead singer's from Austin, right?
Maynard, he's from Austin.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and he was friends with Bill Hicks.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's right. And so, I listened to one of the albums, and there's like a small skit that Maynard put in one of his endings to his songs.
Yeah.
And it was a skit where he's all like, if you guys don't believe that drugs have influenced any of your music or your musicians, please go home and burn all your records.
Throw them out.
Yeah, throw them out. Because all those guys are real fucking high on drugs. And, it's a classic Bill Hicks that I never heard anybody think that way. And so before Hicks, I was looking at Freddie Soto, and they were just more like Hispanic comedians that just kind of made fun of your family environment, but like not really thinking out the box. You know what I mean? And so
those are the guys we were talking about earlier in conversation, right? Where that's the type of comedy where whenever we say we're putting on an all Hispanic or an all Latino lineup,
right,
they might expect to come and experience that type of comedy that you were just referring to.
Right. So when going back to Border Laughs and kind of getting my inspirations, Freddie Soto was one of the first comedians that I really paid attention to. Carlos Mencia at the time, whether he was stealing jokes back then, I don't know.
It doesn't make a fuck. That guy is funny as shit.
But
he does make a fuck. Like at the end of the day, plagiarism serious, but I got good laughs from the guy.
Well, he's one of the first ones. Paulo Francisco's, and they went on the Three Amigo tour, and those were the first comedians I saw that I really, wow, these guys are awesome. These are one of my favorite. And then I saw a clipping of Eddie Murphy, and then I saw I saw Eddie Murphy Raw, and then I saw Pryor. And after that, I was like, these are like my Mount Rushmores here.
Yeah.
And then I started and I wasn't exposed to a lot of white comedians, and I couldn't relate because I didn't know what they were talking about. But then I got older,
what the fuck is a parsnip?
and I started listening to my brother's music. My brother turned me on to a lot of music, and that's when I heard that little clip, and I was like, huh, who's that? And then I just started looking into Bill Hicks and the way he started philosophizing about a lot of shit that he talked about, and then Carlin was another one that I started
Carlin's
really.
Carlin's one of those guys.
Yeah, so a blend of that type of comedy really influenced on what I do today. And so when I talk about Border Laughs, I love the aspect of giving the environment of a comedy show, and more of a comedy show. It's like also a family environment, because where I come from, we had my family's put on a lot of big parties, family parties, and when I was young, and that's all I really remember from my family. They're all dead and gone now, and I'm the last one left. And so what I try to do is kind of bring that culture back as far as having a family environment in my comedy shows. So, you have your uncle on the corner talking shit, drinking a beer, and then you have the DJ who's your cousin. He's spinning on the side. You got your tia. She's dancing to the cumbia music, so everybody's having a good time. The environment's there. But also, I'm going to tell you some shit. I'm going to tell you some comedy shit. And I'm not going to give you that stuff that, that you're expected to hear. So you might hear a lot of more philosophized joke, like Bill Hicks type, and those are different jokes. I like to talk about aliens.
Or you might have a real take on something that's happening in politics.
Right, yeah. So like I incorporate a lot of different stuff there. I mean, I'll throw some Hispanic references, and as far as
about aliens.
Yeah. So I mean, and so I got some different stuff that I talk about, and I just tell it from my perspective, and hopefully people vibe.
I love what you said earlier about trying to control, not necessarily control the environment, but trying to foster a particular type of environment, right? That brings back a particular feeling for you.
For sure.
Right? And it kind of beckons back to what I was telling you earlier about what I try and do at the studio.
Right.
You walk in, it looks nice, right? So your sense of sight's impressed upon positively. You
Right.
walk in and it smells nice. Your sense of smell is impressed upon positively. You walk in and I've got the lo-fi music playing, so it sounds nice, and your sense of hearing is impressed upon positively. And I've impressed upon 3 of your 5 primary senses in a positive way the moment you walk in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think that there's something to taking and putting that much conscious attention and effort towards fostering good vibes with the environment.
For sure.
People forget that the environment that the experience is happening in is a big part of the happening itself.
For sure, man.
Right? And so I love that you're playing on the same thing that I'm playing on, right? The same reason why you feel good when you walk into my studio is the same reason why somebody feels good when they walk into your show.
For sure, yeah. And I take a lot of pride in that, and it's something that I have not mastered, but it's something that I've paid attention to for a long time while I was doing comedy and working on my jokes.
The fact that you're aware of it puts you steps ahead of a lot of folks. Most people aren't aware of this type of shit.
For sure, man. And that's one thing as a comedian that I've learned when I was younger, and I learned just by going to a lot of shows and just watching what I first did when I came out here. It was really hard for me to consider myself a comedian. It was more humorous, observant. And so when I would go to the open mics, I didn't really sign up. I just kind of observed what the comedian was saying and doing, and looking at the crowd and seeing how they're reacting. And so I didn't necessarily hear a lot of jokes. I saw what was happening. And so when I started making the connection, and I was like, okay, well, here's this situation, here's this environment, this, just case studies.
So what you're describing is the Bruce Lee method of creation, where you go and learn what other people that are successful are doing.
Pretty much.
Right? And then you shave off the things that they were doing that you didn't like, and then you add what's uniquely your own.
More or less.
Well, that's how fucking Bruce Lee became like the greatest martial artist of all time. So if you can take that practice and apply it to what you're doing, which it sounds like you're already doing,
for sure, yeah,
to a significant degree, maybe not perfectly, but I mean, now that we've communicated, maybe you can think about it more consciously, right? But I mean, it's one of those things where I know I was doing it before I ever heard Bruce Lee say it, and then I heard Bruce Lee say it, and it was like validation, right? It was like a validating thing for me to hear, and so. I always like to share that, and I think that I brought it up because it sounds like you're doing it. It sounds like you're moving in that direction, at least on your own.
For sure, yeah, man, and it's something that I always pay attention to, and it's something of more of a attention to detail in my own critique, you know, and I just consider myself also a perfectionist, you know, especially when it comes to my jokes, you know. Somebody could tell I had like a really good set, but in my head I'm like, oh, I fucked up that one joke.
Yeah.
Or I said this joke wrong, or
Well, you know, it's a weird balancing act, and you know, obviously I've talked to a bunch of comedians at this point, and a lot of them are perfectionists like that.
yeah,
But it's a weird balancing act of being willing to slop it out there and fail the first time, so that you can you have to forge these jokes in fire.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And you have to be brave to do that, and sometimes that process can be a little sloppy, but if you do it and you stick with it, you can reach that perfection at
For
the
sure,
end, right?
man, yeah.
You wouldn't think that hammering a piece of steel could make a sharp edge, but at the end of the day, it's how they make katanas.
For sure, man. Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing I love doing. I love just paying attention to that, sharpening it, and paying attention to the detail.
I mean, I always tell Mikey, every time I come up here and do a podcast, even if I feel like it wasn't the best podcast, even if I feel like the person who came in didn't enjoy it that much, even if it doesn't get a fucking million views, every time I come up here and do this, I'm sharpening my sword.
For
So
sure.
the next time I do it and I swing my sword, I'm going to cut deeper. I'm going to do better, right? And every time you go out there and you do a set, every time you go out there and you put on a show, you're sharpening that sword.
For
right?
sure.
You're practicing your form. And before long, that sword's going to be so fucking sharp and your form's going to be so fucking perfect that nothing can stand in the way of that sword.
And so I'm in the process of writing a joke right now, and it's been taking me a couple months to do it. And I haven't debuted it yet, but you know, it's something that I've been working on. It's one of those I want to perfect before it goes out, before it hits, and it's gonna be really good. I'm like hyping it up like to myself that this is gonna be one of the best.
You're speaking
jokes.
it into existence.
That's
man.
exactly what I'm trying to do.
I really do believe that the universe is infinite.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, right? It feels right, right?
sure.
Like the truth, it's obvious in there.
Yeah.
Okay? So here's the thing, is that there's nothing that you can see in your mind's eye that isn't real.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah, I'm totally big on that.
I do believe that I don't believe that what makes us truly us deep down is physically tethered to here
For
in
sure.
our bodies. I believe that. And so whenever I tell you to think about what happened yesterday, you see it, that's your consciousness literally going to that point in space and time. That's
sure.
real and accessible to the thing that isn't tethered to the here and now, that is your consciousness on the
sure.
back end.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's easy to get to yesterday because the path between here and there is really clear. You just traveled it, right? But the further off you go into the past, the harder that trail gets defined.
Right.
The same thing happens with your future. You know what's going to happen tomorrow. You're going to wake up in your bed. You got X, Y, and Z to do. You can see it, right? It's very clearly accessible
sure.
because the path to it is very clearly forged. You've been thinking about it. It's on the event horizon. It's right there, right? But I tell you, think about where you're going to be in 6 months. You don't know, right? But you have a general orientation. You can see something, right? That place that you saw in your mind's eye whenever I told you to think about where you're going to be in 6 months,
Yeah.
because your mind went there, imagine a single thread of light that just happened between where we're at now and where you were wanting to go. And that eventually, the more times you think about where you want to go, and the more threads you put out between where you're at and where
For
you're trying
sure,
to go,
man.
you create a path of least resistance within the higher dimensions to where that's the reality tunnel that you're going to fall into.
Dude, that's deep, man. That's deep, and that's kind of scary at the same time because I think a lot about porn.
Well, you probably fucking you're probably gonna beat your dick in the next 12 hours,
I'll
man.
be a
Like,
porn
it's-
star, I guess. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I don't know. No, but that's totally true, bro. That's totally true. Yeah, I try to
That's some
think.
shit that I saw on LSD
Yeah, man.
and
And-
meditating in silent darkness in my bedroom.
yeah, and that's one thing I'm trying to do is manifest my own destiny, and one of the jokes I'm coming up with has to do with every comedian has merchandise to sell sometimes.
Well, at least if they're worth their salt. Right?
Yeah, if they're worth their salt.
If they're doing it right, you know.
And that's where I'm trying to get at as far as I want it to be worth the salt. I want it to be worth investing and listening to this joke. It's like it might be a while to get there, but it's gonna be a good joke. And it has to do with my beef jerky. And so
big beef jerky head.
so what I do also on the side, as merch, I sell beef jerky.
Beautiful. I love that.
And so this is a small company out in El Paso, where I'm from, and it's helping with my father and his business associates. I became a vendor here in Central Texas for borracho jerky. And so I brought some samples for you.
Oh my god! Oh,
I got
oh my god! You're my new favorite podcastee, bro. Holy shit!
Habanero, and I got
and I'm into spice, bro.
chili the audible too. These are my other ones here.
Oh my god!
And I brought some free samples for you guys to check out here.
Oh my god!
I ran out of my other ones, and I just got a brand new shipment in. So
packing's legit. Meat looks legit.
Yeah, it's all legit. It's all and we just went federal.
Borracho jerky.
We just went federal, so this is federal means that we can sell outside of Texas. Before I couldn't sell outside of Texas because this is Texas state beef, and so it's borracho jerky, and it's
borrachojerky.com.
Yeah,
that's BORRACHO.
ATX. Don't forget the ATX because that's they got the bigger company. I got the smaller company.
Oh, okay, cool. So it's borrachojerkyATX.com.
Yeah.
That's how the money funnels to you.
Pretty much. Well,
put that goddamn ATX on the end of that website, fuck boys.
And not only I got to put some stickers on these too, so these are going to be coming out. And this is what I sell on my journeys when I'm out and I'm performing in comedy clubs or bars.
That's a lick. That's a lick, and like it's a niche, right?
For sure.
That's the thing is, people get overwhelmed trying to figure out what they're gonna do as merchandise because there's so many things you can do, bro. Throw a dart at a board. Pick something, do it right, and do it well.
Exactly.
Do it consistently over time, and you're gonna hit the lick. Wow. I'm gonna set this out over here. So
For sure. Yeah, and it's definitely something. That's why I'm saying it's gonna be a good joke. It's gotta be a great joke in order for me to incorporate this beef jerky into my set. So, like I said, most comedians have a shirt to sell. It has a little. I don't want to sell shirts. I mean, I do want to sell shirts, but I want to sell also my meat. And
I will tell you right now, that is significantly more memorable than any shirt that I've been offered by a comedian to this point. So you're definitely finding a way to like work your way up into people's consciousness, right? Like you're the guy with the fucking jerky at this. You're the comedian with the jerky, right?
For sure.
There's no other comedian that I can say that about that people will go, oh, it's that person, right?
I know one comedian. He sells barbecue sauce.
Oh, that's fun. Who is it? Let's give him a shout out.
I can't remember his name.
Oh no, mystery guy, you're not gonna get your shout out. You sell barbecue sauce.
I want to say,
what, if you see this podcast and you know you're the guy who sells the barbecue sauce, hit me up. I'll bring you on, bro. But you got to bring me some fucking barbecue sauce.
I think he's from Houston, but I can't remember. I think I want to say it's Bob Biggerstaff.
Bob Biggerstaff, maybe.
I think he might. I think he's the one. I've never worked with him. I've always wanted to work with him, and
kind of seen him peripherally.
Yeah, and he's somebody that also too. He's a legend in Houston, so he's kind of up there when it comes
They've
to
been around the block.
Definitely somebody that if I had an opportunity to work with him would be great, and also if I had an opportunity to see him, that'd be also great. And I believe it's him that he does have either a barbecue sauce or a hot sauce, one or the other.
Well, on the subject of being able to work with this gentleman and being able to actually manifesting the things that you want, my general recipe for doing that is, I meditate every night before bed. I used to have crippling anxiety, I can't sleep.
Yeah, insomnia.
Insomnia, bro. I'm high. Cut me some slack. Fuck your words. Yeah, I used to have insomnia really bad, and I actually picked up on a meditation practice in a book that I read by the Dalai Lama.
Nice.
And so now what I've worked into part of that meditative practice is every evening I meditate and think on and put my consciousness in the place of where I want to go in the future. And so I would say if you want to work with that guy, every night when you meditate, see the place in reality where you're going to be doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Literally forge that path every single day in the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
And before long, you start seeing the step that immediately is the last step before you work with him.
Yeah.
Right? I signed the contract. Now we're working, right? And then next thing you know the very first step you need to take, and before long, it all starts to connect. You just think on it every day and meditate on it every day, and before long, you've got the entire trail forged in the fifth dimension. All you have to do is follow it.
Definitely, man. Like I said,
you're better at doing that than you don't need to think on it. You don't need to go, I'm gonna take step 1, 2, 3, 4, and come up with like a logical plan, bro. Our bodies, our mechanisms that we inhabit are better at doing this shit than we are.
For sure.
Right? The utilization of logic and reason is just ways that we rationalize the way that we feel to our egos and to the egos of those around us.
For sure, man.
Right? So as long as you can follow that feeling on the inside and just trust it, bro, you're fucking off.
Yeah, man, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely something that I think I was destined to do when it comes to comedy. I still have my day job, don't get me wrong, and I'm very blessed to have the things that I have. But comedy is not my full time, and beef jerky is not my full time. So I kind of want to make those my full time, and that's definitely where I'm kind of fusing my thoughts right now.
Well, I've gone from working full time to working full time and having my businesses, to working part time and having my businesses and work on my businesses more.
Right.
To having my businesses and working very limitedly at hourly jobs, and then finally having my businesses, right? And so it's just a stage thing, right? Where you definitely need to keep your money flowing in your day job so that you can stay stable and consistent, right?
Sure.
But as long as you keep grinding and keep trugging into that, eventually it's going to grow, right?
Yeah.
All you need to do is grow every day a little bit.
For sure.
Right? Look at the redwoods. You can't measure how much a redwood grew in a day.
For sure,
but
man.
they've clearly been fucking growing, right? So all you need to do is grow a little bit every day, and before long it'll get to the point where it's obvious to you that you need to cut back on the amount of time that you're working at your day job, and then eventually you keep doing it. Eventually it gets to the point where it's obvious you need to go ahead and just go balls deep into your comedy and fuck the day job, right? At that point, you just got to stay consistent and stay at it and keep it in your mind's eye of where you're trying to go.
For sure, man. And I got the love and the desire, and I got people like you to support me, dude. And that's that's all I can ask for, man. And it's always great to have people come up to me and tell me to keep going, and that really helps out a lot. So.
And you're welcome to come on the podcast anytime.
Yeah, man. I appreciate
I think I've only had 1 or 2 people on a second time ever, so if we would love to have some regulars, and if you want to come and develop your brand and we develop our brand together, and we all get to shine together, that's great, man.
For sure, man. Well, I definitely got a lot of plans coming up next year, and definitely would love to have you on my podcast, get you guys out there. And
what's your podcast? Give it a shout out.
It's a Borderlast podcast, and
Man, you got the brand lit.
Oh yeah, dude. And so it's Borderlast podcast, and I have a couple episodes. I had 1 season done last year, and it was mostly during the quarantine when gigs were kind of slow, so I kind of
course
build up on a lot of one-on-one talks with some comedians, and kind of a little bit similar to what you do, but more on a platform as far as like giving tips for comedians too, starting off. And so I also feature a lot of different comedians that I work with, and stuff like that.
You on your journey and them on their journey, and y'all getting where y'all are going together.
Hell yeah, bro. That's where it's at.
That's beautiful, man. I love that you spoke earlier about your inspirations, and we talked earlier about one of my inspirations, Bill Hicks.
Yeah.
Obviously, this leans into my philosophy. I talk about weird shit and from weird angles, and Bill Hicks was one of those people who found a way to work the psychedelic truth into what he was doing.
For sure, man.
And so if he can do it, I can do it, and I can do it better. That's where I'm at with this shit. Is I can get this psychedelic truth out there into the world, and we can all turn on, and we can all be aware of our own divinity in a heartbeat.
For sure, man.
At this point, I've said this shit, and it's going to live on the internet permanently, and eventually it'll get found where it needs to get found.
For sure, man. Yeah, I'm down for that journey, bro. That's listen, anything with Bill Hicks, I'm pretty much. And there's a lot of people that look down on him. Oh, he wasn't really a comedian. He wasn't really.
What do you mean he wasn't really?
Yeah, it was some people. You should hear some critics about him, man. It's kind of interesting. He's more of a philosopher, I guess. Everybody has their own like cup of tea on how
Listen, man. If he goes up there on stage and makes people laugh, stand-up comedian.
Right.
You know, as far as I'm concerned, fucking Donald Trump is a stand-up comedian. That guy went up in front of people and made people fucking laugh.
I am with you on that. He is definitely a comedian. I was dead serious when he first campaigned. Like, this dude is a comedian. He's just going to state, to state, just saying all this racist shit. It's like, wow, this is like the new Andrew Dice Clay.
I'll never understand how that guy got to physically mock someone with a physical disability and went and mocked their ability to communicate and mocked how they look physically, and his crowd just went ape shit. They're just like, yeah, let's throw some shit.
Oh, come on, man. That's just the media trying to warp your brain on how it really went down. He was.
You think that he wasn't picking on folks? I'm gonna tell you what. I'm a big believer in that. I do sincerely believe that there's a Mark Twain quote that goes, and he says it about the newspaper, right? But we're past that point in society. But he goes, if you read the newspaper, you're misinformed. If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed.
Exactly.
You know, so you're either misinformed or uninformed in this bitch. And
I prefer uninformed.
Me too. So here's my thing is I believe that there's actual truth that can be found on the inside.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just do drugs and meditate in my bedroom. Look inside and see what bubbles up on its own.
For sure, man.
On the subject of drugs, I know you said that your favorite psychedelic would probably have to be mushrooms. Have you ever had any like big, profound experiences? Like, have you ever taken a whole lot and had something that really like rocked your world or anything like that?
No, I did do acid though.
How was that?
I don't. It was I guess I had. It was.
How much did you do?
Two little.
2 hits. Cool.
2 little hits. I didn't want to do anything too crazy. It was part of me that just kind of wanted to experience it.
Yeah.
And just see what it was about.
Yeah, there's something alluring to the concept of novelty, right? You were going to get to see something unique and new that you hadn't seen before.
And so I did it at Big Bend National Park.
Oh, fuck yes. What a lick. That's great.
And so I was surrounded by friends that I knew that, were going to take care of me if shit went down. So it had to be more of a controlled environment for me. So, because if I don't, I don't know what's going to happen, So one of the things, I guess I didn't really have anything of it. I felt, when I did do it, I guess I felt I had an emotional side where I was just really emotional one time, and then I had auditory and visual hallucinations. But I don't think it was. I think the only thing I did not like about it is that I couldn't sleep.
Yeah, it goes on for a while, and that's why I'm oftentimes a proponent for DMT, which I've got some DMT. Go talk to God. Everyone's got 15 minutes, homie. But the thing about LSD that can be difficult is that it goes on for so long. Literally, it can be 6 to 12 hours on a normal, pretty good trip.
Yeah, it was about 6.
Yeah, on 2 hits, it sounds about right. And so, that can get to where it's pretty drug out. It's like, damn, I'm ready to take a nap. Homie.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's the part I get a little anxiety from, because I just want it to end. Like, okay, I did my high, okay. And
you might like DMT better then.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Because it'll do the whole trip. Like, obviously, you only took 2 tabs of LSD, so DMT is going to be 100 times stronger than the strongest thing you felt at the peak of your 2-tab trip.
For sure.
Right? And while you're tripping, it's like 5 minutes of coming up, 5 minutes of tripping, 5 minutes of coming down, right? But 5 minutes while you're tripping is going to feel like a long time. Doing psychedelics messes with your perception of time, and
for sure.
DMT is no exception to that.
Yeah.
But, and so you might be in there for an uncomfortably long period of time. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to not sleep in 6 hours. Like in the real time that we're really spending, if you do it at 9 o'clock, by 11, you're going to be able to go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's something you could do in the evening and have a robust experience, and it not negatively affect your ability to go to sleep and wake up and have a productive day.
Yeah, for sure.
But so you said that you had auditory hallucinations. What was that like? I want to know what that was like.
So at the time, I was watching a lot of Rick and Morty.
Oh, so this was recent.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Fuck yeah.
I had.
So do you see that? Them Portal Boys? Me and Elias run a Rick and Morty podcast called Portal Boys Podcast.
Yeah.
So
It's.
you're
I guess
the
this
choir.
was. I guess when they first started, like after the first season.
Yeah.
Around that time.
Sure.
I don't remember what it was. Yeah, it was very recent.
Within the last 6-7 years.
Yeah, more or less. And so, I love the show. So, as we're driving and as I'm floating, I started hearing the Rick and Morty theme song.
Yes.
Because it kept on, because I had it as my ringtone.
Okay.
So I kept it going off, but we're in the middle of nowhere. No one's calling me. So I kept. Yo, did you hear that? And everybody looking at me like, oh, he's tripping. I was like, yeah, I keep hearing my phone go off. It's Rick and Morty. And at the same time, every time I looked at my phone and tried to figure out who it was, I kept tripping out on my phone.
You could like see between the pixels?
No. What I was watching through my phone was, you ever get a basketball card that has a hologram?
Yeah.
I saw holograms.
Yeah.
On my phone. That's all I kept seeing was a hologram.
But you know what else it'll kind of look like is oil that's spilt on water.
Yeah.
A layer of oil on water, how it's got that translucent.
That's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah.
So I just saw the reflection of, just beautiful colors.
Yeah, that's normal. That's good.
And so, and I just, I was like, ah! And then I kept on also worrying about my dogs. I think that was a bad trip, because that bad portion of the trip, because I brought my dogs who were still kind of puppies at the time, and it was too hot for them at the time. Mm-hmm. So we went in the middle of summer, so they weren't liking this experience at all. So
it makes sense. You're high on LSD. You're gonna get extra emotional.
Yeah.
You're empathizing with your dogs in a way that you've never been able
to
before.
It's
like, oh, you're not enjoying yourself. I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah. Like, I'm so sorry, dude. Like,
that's okay. You were able to get over that though.
Well, I felt like I might have overheated them. That's why I'm saying, like, I might have, like, it was too hot for them. I was like, provided a cooler environment for them. That's what was stressing me out.
Well, let me tell you, man. We're in Texas, outside.
Yeah.
It needs to be cooler for all of us.
So
everybody needs to go the fuck inside.
Our next plan was go to the winter instead of going.
Well, at least maybe this time of year.
Yeah.
Right before winter, before it gets really asshole cold, but fall-ish.
Yeah.
You're not going to catch pretty fall colors out here in Texas, but you can at least not be getting assaulted by the environment.
For sure.
But let me tell you this: I do prefer environments that are too hot over environments that are too cold. And I used to be the opposite way.
Yeah.
Until I went somewhere and experienced real cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to go to Delaware to do some drone work.
Oh, wow.
And was having to wait out in my car, and it was so cold that I had set my like bag full of batteries outside while I was flying. By the time I got back and I tried to pop in my new batteries, the batteries were too cold. They wouldn't function with the drone.
Yeah.
So I literally had to get in the car and try and warm them up. And so I was just in and out of this car for hours, and it was fucking cold, bro. And I had gloves. It was like,
yeah, I enjoy
Eskimo status, bro, and I couldn't escape it. And that's whenever I decided, I was like, man, I told myself, you know what I told myself?
What's it?
I will never live in a place where simple exposure to the environment can be lethal. Like if my car had died, I'd have frozen to death.
Yeah, that's true.
It's terrifying.
That's true.
Fuck that.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings because I grew up in a really hot environment, so I really love the cold. But at the same time, I'm getting older, and so the cold is gonna be my enemy. Because now I'm walking around with like inflammation and like I had surgery in my right knee, and so like I have complications now of arthritis. I feel like the cold reminds me of elderly.
Well, it makes you rickety. It makes you rickety, bro, and so it sucks. And so I like the cold better than I like the hot.
Right.
But I also dislike the cold more than I dislike the heat.
Right.
I would rather be in a nice, chill environment. But if we're gonna have to go to the extreme on either end, I'm dealing with heat.
Yeah.
I'm stripping naked. I'm getting in the water. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be fine, just fine. Right. It's too cold. There is no fucking escaping it unless there is a source of heat somewhere. right? Because the water won't save you from the cold.
For sure.
The shade won't save you from the cold.
For sure.
The only thing that's going to save you from the cold is fucking heat. And sometimes that shit's hard to come by.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Shade, that's everywhere. Water, that's everywhere.
That's true.
You know, I'm getting away from that.
That's true. I never thought of it that way. Good perspectives, man. Good perspectives.
I was terrified of dying that night. I was like, damn, dude, I would not want to fucking die in Delaware. You know?
Yeah, you don't want to die in Delaware. What's in Delaware? Absolutely nothing. I don't know what's in Delaware.
Weren't they the first state? Isn't that their thing?
Yeah.
Isn't that their claim to fame?
The only thing I know about Delaware is that they do a lot of business, like LLCs. And
You know, Texas is actually just as friendly for business as Delaware.
yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe. So there's a couple little extra benefits, but unless you're like a multinational credit card company, there's no reason to go from Texas to Delaware.
Yeah, that's
true.
true.
It's just shit but it's just shit for the mega rich. It's a safe haven. For safe haven for credit card companies. But Texas is very, very friendly to doing business. But all of my LLCs are Texas LLCs, and I have all the benefits to everything. So
Nice.
but I had audio hallucinations at one point. Whenever I had a big LSD experience.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, like had my heart weighed against a feather of truth in the hall of Anubis. Had an ego death, and I got so high, I was out there. I couldn't find my body anymore. I was in the dark. So if I opened my eyes, it was still dark, and it was just tripping. There's a couch, there's a wall, there's a thing. There was nothing. It was just tripping. You get the trip and you open your eyes and you try and wrap your head around what's going on. I opened my eyes and it just kept assaulting me. And it got to where I was hearing this. And it just got so high pitched that it turned into a noise that I didn't know I could hear. And obviously I'm not hearing anything. And so the point is that our brains have the capacity for experiencing noises that are higher and lower pitched than what our eardrums have the capacity for receiving. And so I was hearing noises for the very first time. And it's like you were seeing that translucency on your phone. You were seeing colors for the first time. I also do believe that it allows, I don't know if it necessarily changes the rate at which the rods and cones in the back of our eyes move and undulate, so that it's actually literally allowing infrared and ultraviolet light into our experience, or if it's just a hallucination and at the end of the day we're experiencing it on the inside in quite the same way as I was experiencing that audio hallucination on the inside. But I know that it got so high pitched that I couldn't imagine it. I was like, how is this still?
Yeah.
This is way higher pitched than I should ever be able to hear. It was very, very obvious to me.
Yeah.
It got to the point where I kept thinking, okay, it's going to get to the point where it's going to stop because it's going to be too high pitched. And you've heard the little phone thing they put up to you, and they can tell how old you are based on when you stop hearing and shit.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to stop hearing it, and I didn't.
Oh no.
And you have this psychedelic experience happening in front of you, and it got to where that audio hallucination was so high pitched and so loud that, have you seen where they pour salt on those resonant plates and they turn up and it makes those patterns?
Yeah.
It made a pattern out of the psychedelic tapestry that I was looking at, and I went through the gaps in that, and that's when I got exposed to the void and like had the whole heart being measured against the feather of truth in the hall of Anubis and all the other like really, really trippy shit.
Yeah, that's some deep shit I hadn't gone to yet. I don't think I don't know, man. Those places sound a little scary to me.
Oh, make no mistake, it's terrifying. It's terrifying, but it also forges you, like I said, like a katana. Like, and I have zero, like, bro, death is going to come for me, and me and that dude are going to walk out like equals. If death doesn't come to me with a mixtape for the ride, I'm going to be pissed off at that fella. It's chill. I've already been to the...
Wouldn't that be cool if death just came in a lowrider playing Coolio? Come along.
That's the way I imagine him. That's the absolute way that I imagine that character. I really like...
Roll it out. Just roll it out.
I really like Adventure Time's depiction of death. Have you ever seen any Adventure Time? Oh man, Adventure Time has a really cool death character. Death is an active character in the show. Yeah. He's like bros with the butler of the queen of the entire show for some reason. No one know, like, the butler's into dark arts, but they don't ever explain to what extent.
Yeah.
Death is on a first name basis with him.
Yeah.
And there's one character named the Ice King who has a magic crown, and as long as he has the magic crown, he'll live forever.
Nice.
Can't die. And at one point, they took the crown from him, and his body started to decay rapidly. You know, he's a man, and he's 1,000 years old or whatever. And as he's decaying, he's riding this magic carpet with his friends to go get his crown back. And Death pulls up on this cosmic motorcycle next to him, and he's like, "Come on, Simon, let's go. It's time to go." And Simon's like, "But these people are trying to help me. I don't want to let them down." And he's like, "Bro, if you don't take this opportunity, you're going to be the Ice King till the sun blows up. Like, fuck this. Let's get the fuck out of here, bro. I made a mixtape."
Nice.
And that's where I get the Death Better Have a Mixtape.
That's funny, man. That's some good stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I tell you what, man, we've been talking for over an hour.
Oh shit, it's already an hour?
Yeah, is there anything on your mind that you wanted to talk about before we go? Anything that you think might be fun to bullshit about before we cut out?
Man, there's so much, man.
I mean,
there's so much.
There's all kinds of shit happening.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I've been writing this Jeffrey Dahmer joke. There's so many comedians out there that are writing a Jeffrey Dahmer joke, and I think I'm one of the best ones. I don't know. I'm getting there. And
are you gonna keep giving me are you gonna keep giving me joke blue balls, or are you gonna tell me this one?
I don't know if it's brand new. They do it's more better on set, but it's better on stage. But it definitely pokes fun at serial killers, and definitely I don't know, just the fact that
I don't understand the infatuation with them.
Yeah, that's where I kind of poke fun of it, and the fact that the gay community was really upset about Jeffrey Dahmer and how they portrayed gays, and he was and the dude was gay himself. So to me, it's like, hey, you can't.
When you say the dude was gay himself, you mean the director or Jeffrey Dahmer?
No, Jeffrey Dahmer, and so to me, it's like you can't separate yourself. It's like, so serial killers come in all shapes and sizes, right? There's
buddy, you don't get to be upset because Jeffrey Dahmer was a serial killer and he's gay. Bro, every fucking tyrant the world has ever known has been a cis white male. Like, you realize what bad fucking company I'm in, bro? I'm in the same category as Putin. I'm a traditionally cisgendered white male.
Mexicans had Richard the Night Stalker Ramirez, and it's not like the Mexican community came out like, no, we don't accept him. It's like the gays, you gotta claim this one, man. This is yours.
You gotta take the good with the bad. If you're gonna
you want to be inclusive, this is your opportunity right now.
Yeah, you only get to cancel people who are outside of your shit. You don't get to cancel Jeffrey Dahmer. He's one of y'all.
Exactly. Hey,
you can't cancel Jeffrey
Richard
Dahmer.
the Night Stalker got a Netflix special. Jeffrey Dahmer got a Netflix special. Both are equally the same to me.
There you go. So there we go. Jeffrey Dahmer is to the gay community what the Night Stalker is to the Mexican community.
Exactly.
I think it's a perfect place to end the podcast. If you want to, I think you should just drive the point home. Let them know who you are. Let them know what you're doing. Let them know where they can find you online, and if they want to support you, how they can do that.
Hell yeah. Again, this is Josh Castro, a comedian extraordinaire. I am also a producer who produces Borderlast comedy show, and soon Borderlast podcast coming in 2023. You can find me online at www.justjoshincomedy, all one word, or www.borderlaughs.com. Either one, you'll find me. You'll find my shows. You'll find something interesting you might like. Also, I sell jerky online. So if you guys want to try out this beautiful jerky here,
Let me try this.
I ship it out. And just send me a DM, and I got you. You want to try it out? Let me know. And again, www.justjoshincomedy. You'll find my links, Borderlaughs, and then Borracho Jerky, ATX. And thank you so much for this opportunity, Borracho Jerky, ATX.
Beautiful.
All one word. So we have Chile de Arbo, and I got a brand new flavor. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough to bring this time, but I do have a new flavor coming out pretty soon. It's called Louisiana Hot.
Ooh.
So it's a different type of
I'm into that.
Different type of flavor. So
beautiful.
I got everything. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Comedy, merchandise, jerky, producing shows, killing it out here.
I got it all.
Dude, thank you so much for coming in. The Ones Who Woke Up podcast. This is Joshua.
It's been woke.
This is also Joshua. Gang, we'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much. Hell yeah, man. That was fun.
Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.